حبيبي.
Welcome back, and in this segment we will be talking about yesterday's match, the Ahli and Zamalek match as part of the Cairo Derby, during which the Ahli won 2-0. And actually it seemed at the beginning that Zamalek was doing well, but then eventually Zamalek was defeated again, and that made Ahli maintaining a 9-year unbeaten run in the Derby. And joining us right now is Mr. Diaa Salah, and he has a FIFA diploma in sports management, and he's also a FIFA instructor. Welcome with us.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Diaa Salah. And let me first of all start by talking. I know you have a lot of things to discuss, but again, I will ask you the question I asked you before we start.
Yep.
What happened yesterday?
What happened yesterday? Good question. Well, just before we go into a little bit of details, we just have to take a broader look at the game and look at what both teams needed out of the match. The Ahli entered the match in first spot. The Zamalek were in third. Very, very good defensive and goalkeeping statistics from both teams. Both teams haven't lost a game since the beginning of the league. Zamalek today on third spot, or yesterday they were in third spot, so definitely they need a win. Al-Ahli, I think a draw or a win would be something that they would favor, leading again with 42 points. When we look at the formation or the lineups of the both teams, we can tell that the Zamalek didn't have the most attacking formation. They were a little bit conservative in their lineup. They were playing at a formation of a 4-3-2-1 setup, while Al-Ahli were playing at a 4-2-3-1. So my opinion is that when you come into a match like this and you need 3 points, I think you have to play in a more attacking and aggressive way. And I don't think Zamalek had that attitude yesterday in the game. And you can tell if you look at the figures, like we were just saying a minute ago. Both teams are very, very strong defensively and from the goalkeeper side. Al-Ahli, for example, had 13 clean sheets, and Zamalek had 12 before the game. And these are very, very big numbers. And from my point of view, they're very good numbers. And you look at teams abroad, if they can finish a whole league or a whole season with 5-10 clean sheets, I think that's a good result. But again, it's the attitude and the effectiveness during the game. When we look on our statistics part of the game, on paper, Zamalek won. On paper, Zamalek
That's
won.
on paper, but not in reality.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Diaa, now you've mentioned several things as you were talking. You mentioned the performance and you've mentioned the formation itself. So would that be the coaches, like the lack of proper planning from the coach, or is it the inefficient performance from the players? And how can it be handled? Because always Zamalek, and I'm a Zamalek fan, always Zamalek, we get very stirred up and happy,
Yes.
and we feel that we're going to win, and then eventually they disappoint us at the last minute.
You're right.
So how can what happens? Why is it like that always with
Yes,
us?
it's a very good question. You have a very valid point. It's a mix-up of both. Today, a coach has a very important role before the match and during the match. Okay, he has a very important role on the pitch and before in the dressing room. Like you said, Zamalek came into the game and they knew that they had to win. The formation didn't show that. I mean, today when you come into a match and you need 3 points, I think you definitely need 2 strikers on the pitch. Zamalek had a very good, effective player over the last 3-4 games, Shikabala. I was a bit shocked why he didn't start the game, or why didn't he come in a little bit early. The coach brought him in when there was like only 5 minutes left. Again, the psychological part of the game is very important, like you mentioned, and this comes down to the head coach himself. He has to know how to prepare the players well before the match, and you know, and release all of the stress that the players put on. You know, today is one of the biggest matches that happens in Egypt. Lots of media involved, lots of stress. And of course, every player wants to win and do well, but a part of it has to come down to the coach as well.
Especially that Al Ahly scored the first goal very early, and of course this affected the players and all. And again, I want to ask you, because we want to explain it in more details, how you see Zamalek, they won on the paper, but they did not win.
Well, my view is about this part is it comes down to one word, and it's effectiveness. Okay, Zamalek today had last night. I mean, had 60% of the ball possession. Total pass accuracy, they were more accurate than Al Ahly. They had 79%. They had lots of short passes, 434 small passes. But when it comes down to the crosses accuracy that from the flanks or from the both sides, Ahly had the upper hand here. Zamalek, like I said, were dominant in most of the statistics. When it comes down to the cross accuracy, Ahly had 52% accuracy in this statistic. And both goals came from the side. If you look at both sides, they came from the left side. A cross was made, and a couple of mistakes. You know, the goalkeeper didn't come out for the second goal, and like you said, in the first half, the first goal came a little bit early, and that, you know, affected, of course, the rest of the half.
Now, I'm quite curious, because when it comes to the cup finals, Ahly lost 2 consecutive
Yes.
leagues or matches, championships in front of Zamalek. But when it comes to the derby, Zamalek is always losing, and Ahly has been winning 9 consecutive championships. I feel that it's the same team, but what's happening? Why the performance is totally different from one game or a type of championship to another?
Well, when you think about it in that way, you know, you cannot very much explain it in a proper way. There is no specific definition. Yes, you're right that Zamalek haven't won in the league since 2007.
Yes.
But after that, during the cup, they've won a couple of times, and during the other matches, they've won. I mean, you cannot. There is no rule why. You know, it comes down to a lot of factors that affect. You know, it's the performance on the day, it's the mentality of the players on the day, and the coach today. And I think Zamalek maybe suffered over the last couple of seasons. You know, the changing of management that they've had, and this confuses the players a lot. You know, and I think it's a major factor that we should also consider for the performance of any team.
Actually, you are taking me now talking about the management to the organization as well, as long as we're talking about the administration side. And I know you have your own experience in this respect.
Yes, definitely. When it comes down to management of the football players today, it's not something very easy. I mean, there's a lot of football coaches that we see abroad that they work with different teams and they have different successes, and some of the coaches are not able to work with the top management, with the owners of the clubs. So it's a lot of communication skills that they have to work on, especially when you have 23, 24 different type of players, and every player needs a different way of dealing with. So it's a bit tough, you know. And today in the modern game, there's a lot of new ways of coaching. And it's not only what happens on the pitch, no, they have to handle these players off the pitch as well.
Now, you've mentioned that right now Zamalek is third, and there are still 2 more matches to go, I think.
Yeah.
And there is a difference, more or less 11 points.
Yes.
So do you think that we can or the Zamalek, in other words, because I'm supposed to be neutral, can maintain these 11 points during these matches, or can at least come further, advance further ahead?
Sure, yes, definitely. The ball is still in the court, like they say. I mean, we still have a whole second round, another 17 matches for Al Ahly. Zamalek have 19 matches, and you know, they just have to be more focused on their performance. They have to be more effective. They need to study the other teams that they play as well. And sure, I mean, it's not over yet. I mean, probably if it comes down to the last 2-3 games and there's like 7-8 points different, maybe we can say it's all over. But no, it's still, the ball is on the court still.
Of course, it also has to do with the way we are preparing, just as you mentioned, our players. And I've seen this with those who are not professional in international teams, actually. And when they start to talk about the difference between their training here in Egypt and abroad, of course, it makes a great difference. We have many big names, actually. So I know as well that you have your own experience in Arsenal. So tell us more about it from this side.
Of course, coaching in the coaching industry, if we call it, has changed a lot over the last 5-10 years, and a lot of technology as well is involved in the game. We're still a little bit behind in that area in Egypt. For example, if we look at the performance analysis, for example, today there's lots of companies, and I think there's a very good company here in Egypt as well, and they're starting to introduce the idea of performance analysis or data to the coaches. And some of the coaches are still, you know, a little bit resilient to look at figures and look at a computer and use the data that comes out of the computer. So technology as well, and there's a company called the Cora Stats here in Egypt, and they're doing it very, very well now. They're working with several clubs. There's also another company involved. So we are almost starting putting ourselves on the right track. It's just that, you know, that coaches, they have to sort of adapt and know what's happening abroad. The Arsenal experience that you just mentioned a minute ago it wasn't about the technical part. It was about the event management process, or the entering the stadium process itself. And this is something that
This is another important process, actually, because we have many challenges in this respect.
Yes, definitely.
Well, and that would bring us to the fact that actually there were live spectators at that particular match, and we have missed these spectators in our matches for a while. So how do you find or see and evaluate the performance and the attitude of our spectators in yesterday's match?
Well, honestly speaking, this is one of the downfalls that I saw of yesterday. I mean, football is a beautiful game, and we like to see the stadiums full, just like we see in Europe. The stadiums, you know, hosts up to 30,000-40,000 spectators or fans per game. It's very sad that in Egypt still we haven't had that process over with yet. But what I believe that yesterday there was, I think, 300 fans from each team in the stadium. And as well, football is, like I said, it's a very passionate game, and you know, the fans, they always get carried away, especially in big matches like these derbies, and everybody wants to win. You know, and regardless of whatever happened, you know, we just want people to learn that, you know, that we have to behave in a certain way just to get the ball rolling, and we want the football sport to come back as it used to be.
What are the challenges that we are facing right now, and how far are we working on these challenges?
Well, challenges, when we talk about challenges, we need to focus on we have to look at different schools of management and different stadiums abroad and how they are set up. Today, it doesn't make sense that to go and attend a football match, you have to go 3-4 hours or 5 hours before just to sit in the stadium. And I've been to games in Europe, and I enter the stadium 45 minutes prior to kickoff. They have like 40, some stadiums have 35 gates around the stadium, and that facilitates the entering process during the match. I think we're missing this very much. on the management side, the security inside. Abroad, there's no such thing as having police or any security inside. No, they're all ushers. They're all people that are involved in the event management. They know how to to guide the crowd. And the crowd, the crowd when they go there, their main objective is to go and watch a football match and to enjoy. Sometimes, well, it happens everywhere. People get a little bit out of
But we were
control.
like this in the past, actually.
Sorry?
We were like this in the past.
We were, yes, we were like this.
Deal.
But, there's still some unanswered questions some of the crowd are still waiting for. And, we hope one day that, they get the answers to these questions and the crowds can still come back to the stadium.
Now, for the two teams, they won't be meeting again till the Super Cup, Egypt Super Cup. And actually, that's in February still ahead, so
yes.
I think there'll be more preparations to be done. And then, in addition to that, Egypt is preparing also for its participation in the African Nations Cup in Gabon. Now, now, how do you find Egypt? Is Egypt prepared for the matches in Gabon?
Definitely, Egypt is a very strong and highly ranked team in any competition we enter. Today we have a very good, respected coach, and I think he's done his selection yesterday, and he said that he took a very risky decision, and he took some players that people were not very fond of. But again, today we all have to back up, give the coach our full support, and at the end of the day, it's his choice, and this is why we pay him money to come in and do the job for us. So I think we will do pretty well. We have a lot of very good players that play abroad this time. I have Salah, Nini, we have Ramadan. I think these guys will come in and make a difference this time in the championship, I hope.
Yes. Now, returning back to the derby, other than Ahli and Zamalek, and usually the Ahli, of course, is always in the lead, who is also expected to be in maybe the second or third position?
Well, from my point of view, one of the very good teams this year is Masr Makassa. They have a very talented and a very respectful coach, Ihab Galal. He's doing things in a very different way. The board has given him their full backup. Ihab is one of the coaches that is very, I consider him one of the most modern coaches in the league today. He looks at scouting reports, he looks at his own reports all the time. I mean, right after his matches are done, he gets a full report of the matches. He sits down with his team. He studies the performance and everything. And I think they've been doing very well. I can see them finishing maybe second or third this year. You have in Masri today are doing very well with the coaches. Samoha again are very much active and doing some good results as well. So I think we should have a very tight finish to the league this year.
Yes. Yes, well, Mr. Diaa Salah, FIFA Diploma in Sports Management and FIFA expert, thank you very much for this interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Breakfast Show. But first of all, I have to thank my colleague Nashwa Rashid. Thank you very much, Nashwa.
Thank you, Rasha. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of our Breakfast Show. And remember to join us again tomorrow, same time, with our colleagues for more on our show. So till then, thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more coming up on Nile TV International.